know what to do with you.
Oh, hey, how's it going? I'm Nico,
I'm Daniel.
and welcome to the first and only episode of Brake Bleeding for Idiots.
Wait, what? Hold on. Today we're going to talk about the 4 different methods of brake bleeding, and those are manual, gravity, pressure, and vacuum.
The main reason that we do need to do brake bleeding is we need to get all the air bubbles out of the brakes, so eventually it won't cause... I fucked up, alright, let's repeat.
Action.
The main reason that we do brake bleeding is to eliminate all the air bubbles to avoid eventually having brake problems.
Yep, and the 4 different methods of brake bleeding are vacuum, manual, pressure, and gravity.
3.
Today we're going to start talking about with the manual brake bleeding. First off, oh shit.
3.
First, what we're going to talk about today is the manual brake bleeding. And most advantages and disadvantages, it's the most commonly used way. People like to use it this way. The only disadvantage is it's going to need 2 people instead of just a 1-person job. Our first step today is you're going to be pumping the brake until it feels hard. First off, we're going to start by discharging the hydraulic power booster by tapping the brake until it feels hard.
Wait, what? Alright, and then after that, you want to take this off, the brake fluid cap, and you got to fill the master cylinder reservoir at least halfway full. And
Make sure it stays full through the whole
make
process.
sure at least it stays full throughout the whole bleeding procedure.
Alright, so the next step you do is you would take this hose and put it right over here on the caliper
bleed
screw
valve.
for the bleeding valve. And then you would stick this other end into the tube, into the bottle of brake. And then you're going to have an assistant lightly press down on the
Brake pedal.
down over there. And what that's going to do is send the brake fluid through the tube and into the screw.
Bleed.
First off, you would attach this hose to the bleed valve on top of the caliper. Then you are going to place this end into a jar half full of
new brake fluid,
so air doesn't get released back into the brakes.
just in case it does suck everything back up.
Alright, cut it right there.
1.
Unlike manual brake bleeding vacuum, it's kind of like the same process. You just have to connect this hose to the bleeding valve, but instead of pushing on the brake, you gotta pump this up and down, and it's controlled over here with the air hose. And yeah.
Alright, here we have a pressure bleeder. The way this works is you would connect this up to the air hose in your shop, and it will use compressed air to blow fluid throughout your master cylinder, alright? This another end connects to the master cylinder, so what it... I can't restart, hold on. And right here we have a pressure system. The way this works is it's going to connect up to the air hose inside your shop, and it's going to blow through compressed air through your brake system, and it's going to blow all the fluid through it. The final way we have to do it is gravity bleeding. What you're going to do is you're going to take 4 separate tubes and connect them to each of the bleeding screws. You're going to allow them to drain out into a half full container of brake fluid. And you gotta just watch it and make sure all the air bubbles come out. Once it's done, and the whole entire time you have to make sure your master cylinder
reservoir
is at least halfway full. You have to make sure that's like that the whole entire time. Just make sure all the air bubbles come out, and then pretty much just close the screws, and you're all set.
Alright, and now we have a brake system flush, which basically is that, well, we flush all the old brake fluid out, and make sure everything's all good, and then putting new one.
Alright guys, so now we have talked about the 4 different types of brake bleeding today.
Manual bleeding, pressure bleeding, vacuum, and pressure.
Alright guys, now today we have talked about the 4 different types of brake bleeding.
Manual bleeding, gravity, pressure, and vacuum.
We've also talked about the reasons why we need to do it. We have also talked about advantages, disadvantages, and we've also talked about importance of needing a brake fluid flush.
We would like to thank our sponsors, Pickens.
Pickens Tech, Mr. Slaughter, Mr. Warner for providing us the money for this video. It has been a really great experience. I appreciate it.
Now you guys know how to break bleeding your
Properly.